Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Man's Edition, presented by Creative Emotions. I'm Chef Wilson. Today, it'll just be me. And Kimani here. Kimani, you can introduce yourself. I'm sure the people may know you. I don't.
That's me over here on the ones and twos, doing a little bit of disc jockeying here, still in the building, and on camera at the same time.
Amazing engineer. I appreciate you. I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day. It's hump day. But you know what I was thinking, Kimani? I said, we've been working 7 days a week. When you working 7 days, when is hump day?
I mean, at that rate, hump day is every day. It's because you always get into it. You get into it every single day. If you're working 7 days, I mean, what day is not hump day at work? You know, unless I don't know, unless your job is easy. If you're not doing anything at work, then it's never hump day. But I mean, even for me, I like what I do. Even I wouldn't necessarily call it work. Yes. But I got to get to it every day.
Yes.
So yeah. I'm humping it. I'm humping it every day.
And I would have to say I enjoy my job, so it's fun to me. It is. It's, I'm a morning person also. So people say, Fred, would you tone it down a little bit? I said, I'm happy to be here. I have something to share each and every day, just like today. So today we're going to get right into it. I hope everybody's been having a wonderful week thus far. Q, I know, is just sending out a belated happy birthday. I know she's somewhere enjoying her birthday. Polo, I still want to send out prayers to the family. He lost his father a little while back. Randy wasn't able to make it today, but he will be present for the next show. Today we're going to be talking about expectations. And when we talk about expectations, I think everyone should have them. But I believe it should start with yourself, right? I believe it really should start with yourself before anybody else. So I think you need to get up in the morning, afternoon, and look in the mirror and see. It all depends on when your day starts, what you're expecting out of the day. What are you expecting to share? How are you going to walk in your purpose? How are you going to share your gifts? I think it's a very important thing to do. God put it in you, so that means that you have to release it, right? I think I said on previous shows, when you feel that frustration in your chest and anxiety, I believe it is because you're not sharing the gifts that God put in you, and you're not walking in line with your purpose. So it's something peaceful about once you start sharing the gifts and once you start walking in purpose, every day is a good day. Every day is a good day, right? I'm not going to say it doesn't come with challenges, because that's where you learn from, but every day is going to be a fulfilled day, prosperous day. What do you feel about that, Kimani?
I mean, it's not too much to add to, but I mean, it's. I like what you were saying early on in that statement, and because it made me think about meeting somebody only as deep as you've met yourself. So it's kind of having those expectations on someone else. You can't have them unless you have those same expectations on yourself.
Yes.
So it's kind of you lead yourself by example, but you can't hold people to a standard that you don't uphold yourself. You gotta include you in whatever it is that you putting on other people. And you can't, at least from my experience, force everyone to live up to your expectation of them.
Absolutely.
You kind of got to let them, be their own person and then accept them for who they are, even though you could place an expectation of, hey, I expect to have this, and that. If that person doesn't meet it, then that's fine. You have to let that go and let them do them.
Absolutely. And when I looked up the definition, it lines up just what you were talking about just a second ago. I looked up a couple of definitions, and they said a strong belief that something will happen in a case in the future, or something you're expecting or waiting for. So, Kiani, what you just said was very, very important. So don't ask more of a situation or a person than you're willing to give or you're able to give. And then sometimes you have to wait for them to grow into what you expect them to be. We do it with our children all the time, right? And they're with us for a lifetime. And we know we have our expectations may be different from parent to parent, but you know that that's going to develop over time. Okay? So when we meet these people, if they have potential and they're listening, right, and being considerate, right, I believe that you have to have that conversation about your expectations and boundaries. And then you don't have to hit this brick wall later on in a relationship. It can be a work relationship. It can be a business relationship. And then for you to tell them what you expected months later or a year later, right, which can possibly damage that work, business, or personal relationship, right? We do it with our children. I'm going to go back to that. You know, I expect you to be home by 12. Stay out of trouble now. You know, so we have to do that with our business, with our personal relationships. And I think that we will have a better understanding and long-lasting, peaceful relationships surrounding us. Now, how does that look? Well, I think in the beginning of any relationship, when you sit down at some table, you're going to sit down somewhere. Instead of talking about the foods you desire, and maybe that conversation will come up, but instead of just talking about food and vacations, once you know you're going to spend time with this person, business or personal, I think in your mind, I know women do it with us men, say, you know what, if this guy don't say anything crazy, I think I want to spend some time with him, right? So now at that point, once you realize that in any relationship, I think that's when you should start talking about boundaries and expectations. Now, at that time, when you sit down at that table, on that sofa, you don't take that option away from the person saying whether or not they may not want to deal with this. Your expectations and may think they're unrealistic for them at this time. And I think that's fine if they tell you, well, you know what? I think that's a little bit too much for me to handle for right now. How do we just stay friends? Or this business relationship, you're saying I have to come to the table with X amount of resources. I don't have that right now. But it sounds fine. Maybe we can get together later on in the future. What do you think about that?
Yeah, because that's actually, I've been in those situations before, especially through, friendships and even trying to, date. Mm-hmm. Because in dating, I think in dating and in friendships, there are these silent expectations, I call them. You know what I mean? It's like the fine print in the contract that you don't read, and it's also in invisible ink, so you don't even know that it's there. But it's like we go into things expecting a certain level of, it could be anything from communication to, okay, well, my love language is this, so you should be doing this all the time. Well, you didn't tell me that. But then there's also the ones that should be innate, as I would say, that should be a given. And some of those things are sometimes as simple as reciprocation. Okay. Giving and receiving. If one person is sharing, then the other person should share or at least reciprocate in the same manner. And if you don't, now you have unbalanced relationships, with people. And then now expectations are way, way off the table. So you're in a completely different realm. And now you got miscommunications and arguments. And now you're like, well, I wanted this and I wanted that. And now everybody's wanting a different thing when at the end of the day, y'all really wanted the same thing.
Same thing. Wow. And I was just listening to what you were saying at the beginning of your statement. And in dating, I ran into that. Right? Maybe the package that was sitting in front of me just looked so amazing that in my mind, I knew I should have been talking about the boundaries and the expectations, but I just didn't want to get in front or mess up the good time. Right?
Yeah. You didn't want to be like, okay, hey, so now we're here, rules. Wait a minute.
Yeah. So, and then sometimes I looked at the person and, where they were at in life, and I said, well, they should already know this, assuming. So I made an assumption where I really should have expressed this. So I'm going to tell you people, never assume because of a person's age, the position that they hold, that they should automatically know things in life. They may have been going through life with situationships. They may have been going through life with delusional or dysfunctional, passed down generational information about business or about personal relationships. So I think it's very, very important and very, very mature of us men to sit down for the very thing that's sitting in front of us. We're not really trying to waste time, especially if you're a mature man. If you're going to purposely put someone in your life and make time for them, I think that it was I'm going to repeat, a very mature thing to sit down and talk about expectations. Maybe not at the very beginning, but once you know you want to spend more time there. I'm speaking to men because this is a man edition. And I believe that at this point in life, women, they not too often when you find a woman that has a hard time not expressing what she wants. What do you feel about that?
This is you know, I've dealt with women who have been on both sides of that coin.
Okay.
Like there are some who overexpress. There are some who's on, you know, the rim of the coin who just, they're in the middle. Like sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they won't, or, you know, it's just a even kill.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
you know, all right, I can pick up what you're putting down kind of thing. And then there's the ones who just don't know how to communicate at all, or they're afraid to communicate. Like some women, as much as we like to paint them as being emotional beings, you know, emotional creatures and very expressive, the majority of them are not actually. A lot of them will hold back a lot more than they have. Some of it is, you know, trauma, fear of being hurt, not being able to connect with other people in the past, so they bring that into the current situation that they're in with you. And maybe you might be a man who's very communicative.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You might communicate all your emotions, and they're like, okay, well, wait a minute, this is weird. I'm supposed to be the one that doing all the emotions and stuff. Like, no, this is just honest communication. This is
Absolutely.
how it should be. And some are caught off guard by it. Some take advantage of it. And then there are some who just equally understand and just equally reciprocate. So, I mean, I've seen all sides of it, but I mean, it's hard to tell who's who sometimes.
Well, let me ask you this, because you are right with what you were saying. Now, do you think that, like you said, you just said about emotions, do you feel that most men feel that it's not masculine to start talking about expectations because maybe they link that to emotions a little bit? And maybe that's why we don't as much.
Yeah, I think it could be linked to emotions. I think it can be linked to, I think the bottom line is it's linked to how we want to be perceived, right? Or how we don't want to be perceived.
Absolutely.
Like we don't want to be perceived as too emotional, or we don't want to be, because as a man, if somebody's calling you emotional as a man, it's kind of like they trying to punch you in the chest a little bit.
Yes.
You know, and it's a little bit disrespectful, you know what I mean? Or you get it to where some men use it as a control thing too. So, you know, you got to think of both the good and the bad that comes with it. And some people don't want to be perceived as controlling or trying to be too forward or overbearing, and then run the person away. So they'll probably, you know, hold back a little bit. But I think you should just, in my opinion, I think you should be you and communicate as much as you can as possible to the other person or whatever they're willing to accept. I mean, if you don't, you're going to hold back pieces of you, so they're not getting that. You know what I mean? So are you truly being yourself? You know, there are those stereotypes, there are those ideas and the way people perceive you, but it's a cold game out here.
And you made a valid point. I'm listening to you. So, you know, I've been single now for, I think, a couple of years. But now I had just really took some time to myself. Now, your expectations should not come from a bitter place, people, right? You're not making someone else pay for what the other person didn't get, or maybe you didn't express yourself, right? Take some time. But ladies, when a man comes to you, usually if he's comfortable with you, because like what you were saying, it's two sides to it. So if you get to a point when a man is comfortable with you, ladies, if you're listening, he will feel comfortable enough to start talking about expectations. That means that maybe he's expecting to spend his future with you or some time with you.
If a man is making plans with you in it, that's saying a lot.
Yeah,
that's
he's
saying
going to
a lot.
start telling you what he expects because he's placing you somewhere in the kingdom. I'm just saying. What do you think about that?
No, I'm with you. That king, that's sacred to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, we have an empty seat right here, and they can only be filled by one. Well, to some of us. To some of us.
Yes, yeah.
It can only be filled by one. So that one seat is special. So if we making plans for what we moving forward in our lives, and like you say, building our kingdom, we want that counterpart there with us. That's very important to us. That's sacred.
And I love that. Ladies, please listen to this. Makes a lot of sense there, right? So if you get to a point where, like you were just saying, if a man start visualizing you somewhere in his life, it's going to sound a little different, and it may come with telling you about expectations or boundaries. That's not a bad thing. That means say, hey, I really like you, and I want you to be around, but let me give you a fair chance, right? This is what I'm expecting, right? And in turn, so what are you expecting? Will be a part of the conversation. But if it gets to that point, that's a good thing. That's a good sign right there. Now, when we're not talking about expectations and everything is just cool, we're not communicating, well, maybe you should start worrying. Maybe we're not really visualizing you in the kingdom.
We ain't in it like that. He either too nervous or he ain't in it like that. No. You just Friday. That's you. That's your name. You're Friday. That's it.
Yeah. And then I like to move on to our children. And I don't know, do you have any children right now?
Nope, just student loans.
Just student loans, okay. So, speaking to the parents, you have to have expectations of your children, and but don't make them realistic, right? For the stage they are in life, right? And you have to sit back and allow them some breathing room sometimes. Allow children to be children, right? Outside of what you expect out of them, educational wise. And I think it may be a little bit different for single parenting also, because usually the things that I've observed, single parenting usually want the children to grow up quicker because they know they may have to leave the children at home sometime because they don't have a babysitter or have to go to work. Do you find that to be true? Single parenting, sometimes the expectations for the children are a little bit greater.
Yeah, because I think in those situations, a lot of times the child has to do a level of growing up. So in a way, it sometimes can be unfair. So it's like a weird pressure sometimes on those single parents and the kids of single parents, because it trickles down. People might not know this, but it trickles down, and those expectations are heavy. Because those single parents are carrying a heavy load.
A heavy load.
It's a heavy load. And I've dated single mothers. So
yes, I have too.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot on their plate, and sometimes the kids' plate, depending on how old they are, obviously.
And I've dated maybe a lady who was probably one of the older siblings, and she often, we have a caller. Yes, callers, welcome to Man's Edition. Who am I speaking with? They'll get back with us. And they often express how the discomfort of the amount of responsibility that was placed on them at a young age, right? And they said often they didn't have a chance to go outside and play because mom had to go to work, so they had to cook, help with the homework, in the evening.
You're the adult.
You're
the adult. So, even with me, I grew up as the oldest sibling. I had two little sisters.
Oh.
And so I got two little sisters and a younger brother. So I've always had to be, a different level of kid. You know what I mean?
Right there.
I had to be a different level of kid. You know, I had to lead by example. I had to be the one to show them how it's done or what to do. I had to. All right, I got to help people get ready for school. Help with homework. Help with the little stuff. It's not even just the simple, sibling things. Like you actually have duties. You got chores. You got ironing and cleaning and looking after to do. It doesn't end. It's a job that does not end. So when you become an adult, you're like, wait, I have I got to do that times two. So it's like you were like, I've already been adulting and I have the more adult now with bills.
Yes.
So
and as I listen to you, it's just what I heard from them. So did you ever, because this is what I experienced with them, the part of that life that they missed out on, at a certain point of adulthood, they try to go back and not be a child, but just be carefree.
Mm.
But then they couldn't because they had all the responsibilities of an adult now. So they often talk about how they missed out on that part of their life because of the expectations that were placed on them. So I would tell parents, at this time, if you're a single parent and you're thinking that child can handle it, they don't have a problem with it, they really do. And they'll end up talking to someone in their future about it. If you can find a responsible uncle or aunt to help out, don't put so much expectations on a child because of a single parenting role. Dads, if you're out there, help out. Help out. Just listening to you, and I've heard this before, and you said you had to be a different level of kid.
Yeah.
And you're right. And they were always, and I seen them in school, not knowing that what they were going through until later. And they always had this serious, it was something always really serious about them.
Yeah, I've always had it's funny. I was over at my brother's house not too long ago, and we were sitting talking, and I was listening to him talk, and he was like, man, you okay? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you be having a serious look on your face. Like, you got to come correct when they talk to you. I'm like, man, I didn't know I had, the RBF face. So,
do.
So it comes across like that. It really, I don't mean it to. It just kind of is. But I've always been in that role, like that leadership role, even if it wasn't with my siblings. I was in Boy Scouts, but as a Boy Scout, I had to be a leader there. I had to be an assistant patrol leader. When I'm in school, I got to be the line leader, the one that gets the A's. I got to be at the good table and lead by example for the rest of the class. So it's just it doesn't necessarily end. It's an everyday thing.
So let me ask you this, because I'm going to stay on this for a second because I really want to help out some parents with these expectations that they have on children. And also, if fathers, if you're listening, listen closely, because you may have custody of your children, but if you don't, call and relieve some of that, the high expectations that you may feel your oldest daughter or son is handling. How did you handle that later on in life? Is it hard for you to unwind and relax in a sense?
I've always been on the go.
Okay.
Go, do.
But do you ever relax though?
I relax when I meditate. So I got really heavy into meditation. And that is what has given me my daily relaxation.
Okay.
So that is usually when I relax. I mean, I can be chill,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes I have that need to be productive. Like I can't sit for too long. I'm like, no, I got to be doing something. I can't just sit and do nothing. I would go crazy. Like do nothing. The
Exactly.
pandemic. Oh man, yeah. There's that constant feeling of you got to be doing something, working towards something, leading something.
Okay, and that's what I was getting at. And that's one thing that I experienced from being around someone who had very high expectations placed on them at a young age. Because I had to watch maybe one or two siblings, it was always something to do. So it wasn't ever time to relax or be in that different level of kid, right? So you got into meditation. Maybe that's a helpful thing for you who maybe if you've went through this. And I did watch the show, and you did a great job the other morning. I think you were on Greener Things.
Greener Things. Yeah, we do a meditation at 8:00 every morning.
That was amazing too. I watched that. Yeah, very. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I think that's a very helpful tip. So just when it comes to parenting, let's be a little bit careful with the high expectations that we put on our children at a young age. I know you feel that they can handle it, or maybe your situation, that's the only option that you have, but it can impact their life later on. You know, it really can, in ways of multitasking. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that you found your way of relaxation through the meditation. I'm glad you did, because the people that I had interacted with, they had a very hard time sitting still. Like you said, always had to have the hands on something.
Yep, it's very go. Especially if you're, I'm also a person who has a mind that moves like lightning. Mm-hmm. So that alone, but it's also kind of funny because I've seen enough, and I've always had to be in that leadership position enough. Like even with my friends, they say I'm like the dad of the group, right? I'm the responsible person. You know, I'm the one that mediates all the fights and whatnot. But I was working a job a few years ago, and every job I've had, I've been thrown in a fire, right? There was no, like, yeah, you get your orientation period, but it's always like you come in at the worst time to come in, or it's like the toughest assignment, right? It was like, oh, perfect. And this was when I came into this job, it was probably the toughest assignment that they've had. Okay. And I had to pretty much just jump right in. I think it was like the second week of the job. And I came back. And while I was there, the boss called like 2, 3, 4, or 5 times, like making sure, like, he calling my coworkers, like, is he doing all right? He not gonna quit, is he? And it's just like, no. So when I got back, he was like, man, I was kind of worried that you might quit, you know, that was gonna be too much. I said, no, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. And later on, like after, you know, job after job, he was like, man, I don't get it. He was like, how do you stay so calm like that? Like I've never seen you rattled. Like nothing rattles you. You never sweat. And it's just, I wonder if it's just something that's innate. Like I don't have time to sweat. Mm-hmm. I have to figure this out and move on. Like there's no sitting in this. There's no sulking in the moment. There's no, I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. No, you figure it out, and you're not going to sit here and whine about it, cry about it. No.
Yes. So I'm listening. It's funny. I guess it's a blessing also. Mm. And I'm going to move on to the next part. But most everyone that I had come in encounter with who was in a position like you, having to be responsible of siblings, they were very productive. They very productive in their lives, very organized. And so I guess it was a blessing also, but then you kind of missed out on a part of your life. You probably wanted to be more of a kid. But most people, even listening to you, they're very organized, very good with business, right? Because taught by situations at a young age, that expectation. But parents, you know, relieve that a little bit. Now, you're just moving on to like relationships. It's a few things that I had looked up, and with relationships, the number one thing that they talked about, I think everyone wants to be appreciated. And that was number one on the list, expectations, to be appreciated. Now, how does that look? It's, I think, it's not really buying a gift for a person. I think it comes in form of verbal or actions. If it's a significant other and you want to let them know that you appreciate them, how they provide, when they come home, allow them their peaceful time. I got this. It can be a man or a woman. I'm just saying, because people are playing different roles these days, right? But at this time, when someone walks in, you can just simply be like, hey, You can text them. You're on your way home. Yeah, I'll be in about 10 minutes. Run them a warm bath. I don't know. Hanging stuff up in the bathroom. So their towel, their robe, whatever they usually put on after the shower, right? Put them a little music in there, right? So it doesn't always have to be in the form of buying them a gift. You can do an action to show them that they're appreciated, or you can just tell them. And I think the words will mean a lot, right, at the appropriate and right time. And that would probably be number one on my list. How about you?
I would say yes, because I wouldn't know what I would put first on my list. You know, I would just let that person decide how they want to do it in a way, and accept that. But the bottom line is they're doing it out of appreciation. And so, I mean, if that's the underlying theme, so yeah, that would be first on the list, second, and third. You know what I mean? It's all the above, because whatever the action is, it's out of appreciation.
Yes,
as long as it's coming from that pure space, then yeah, whatever it is, I'll take it.
Yes. So if you didn't already know this, now you're listening to the both of us, and this was just a poll that was taken. And they did say appreciation was at the top of the list. And then they said compassion. So most people expect compassion. And how does that look like in the course of the day? I don't know. Maybe you've had a hard day. Maybe you've had something that's disheartening that happened in the family, right? How do you show the compassion? Do you just mull over it, right? Do you just change the subject? Right?
That's kind of tough, because but I also feel like showing that compassion, it depends. It's person to person. It's very person to person, because everybody looks at compassion in a different way. How do you show that? Because that compassion is such a deep emotion. I mean, appreciation is deep, but like compassion with appreciation is super deep. That's coming from a different place. I would say even a more pure place, coming like straight from the heart. Almost with compassion, because it's really truly showing how they feel about you. It's not just saying, hey, I'm doing this because, all right, you've done a couple things for me. It's like, no, like I truly appreciate your being. Like you being in my life, period, is just a blessing, whether you do for me or not.
Yes. So I believe that's probably a fair expectation. Do you think we lack that today? And
very much so.
Yes.
Very much so. I think people are a luxury. You know what I mean? Wow. People in our lives it's a luxury. You know what I mean? So, but we don't look at it as something that can but it's a luxury that people look at as disposable.
Yes.
Disposable, replaceable, like plastic.
Yes.
And so it doesn't necessarily become real. It doesn't matter as much. So you don't have as much appreciation and compassion for something that doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got some Tupperware that you messed up in the microwave, or it's got the spaghetti sauce stains in it, you're like, I'll just throw it away and get another one.
That's deep. And then you are, when I'm listening, you are so right. So these are like red flags. These are signs that we usually overlook, right? I think we said earlier, since we're just talking about relationships now, all depends on where you're at the excitement stage of the relationship, right? These are things that I think if you're continually wanting to enjoy what you're enjoying, you look over the part that's something that you expect that the person is not really giving, right? And when I look around, not in any type of relationship, it was someone and they do that drifting, right? And the guy the car came and hit him, knocked him up in the air, right? He came down. Now, instead of them running over to see if he was okay, everybody had their phone out. No compassion. They just was like,
yeah. That's one of the ones that bothers me the most. These phones have gotten to us bad, like really bad. But it's also exposed human nature, or the way that humans are now, the way that we are as people with these devices. Because I've been in situations where, there's something either bad or tragic or, negative happening. And the first thing people do, their first mind is to pull out their phone to record.
Absolutely. No compassion.
Like that is a whole person there going, or
Absolutely.
people going through these situations. It's kind of sick. Like it's amazing how many videos you can find of people getting beat up on camera. Mm-hmm. Sometimes to death or shot or anything. You know what I mean? Just sometimes
attacked by animals.
Yeah, sometimes real gruesome stuff in a situation, and sometimes you gotta think like, okay, when you watch that video, like, okay, what would I do if I was there? And if your first response is pull out my phone and record it, like,
yeah, something wrong with you.
Something's got to be wrong, because now if you're the person in that situation and you're standing there hoping and wishing that somebody will step in and help and do something, but instead all you see is that flashlight from the camera phone.
Absolutely.
And people doing this, that's all you see, and that's kind of sick.
It is very sick. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking about expectations. It's something as simple as that is very important in our lives. And we're talking about several situations where maybe you were expecting someone to help, to make a phone call, to have a compassionate moment for you or listening ear. It's something very simple, but something so important for us, right? Expectations. And I think you should have them any room you walk into. When you get up in the morning, you're expecting to get to work safely and on time. Just going through life with no vision, no plan, no dream, no expectations, you're just drifting. You're just taking up time, to me, right? So expect that. Just to have expectations, that's powerful, right? Now, the third thing was respect. It was respect. And when I thought about it, I thought maybe that probably would be number one, but it was number 3. And they said that respect came in as number 3.
I feel like, to me, that says, I don't know if, I think people are lacking. One, there's a lack of those 3 being the top 3. I mean, the way that they're ordered, one, it shows that people are showing that they are lacking that compassion, lacking that appreciation. And that's just a general sense. And that they might feel that, respect comes from that stuff. You know what I mean? I think people show their respect, or they show that they respect you by doing that, because sometimes people can respect you from afar.
Absolutely.
And not even say anything, but they respect you from afar. But when you're next to somebody, you can feel like they respect you, but if they don't show that compassion and that appreciation, it kind of makes you feel like it's not even there at all. So it's like, dang, I at least want to know if we get into a moment where I feel disrespected, that you still at least like, okay, does this person actually appreciate me? Do they have compassion towards me? And then that can tell you how to handle that respect situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I look around and I listen to people, I love people, right? And I expect everyone to walk into a room with good energy, right? But I realize everybody may not, and people, we have to realize everybody may not be where you're at in life. So the few things that we just talked about, maybe they're just not there, right? With the appreciation, with the compassion, or the respect, right? So how can you expect a person to understand you if they have not placed any expectations on themselves, in which we talked about in the very beginning, right? Because most people, you expect people to treat you the way that you're treating them, right?
But everybody don't follow that rule.
That rule right there, right?
It's not in their conscious awareness at all times.
Yes. So what I am saying to you at this point, I think is never too soon, right, to talk about expectations. and any type of business, personal relationship with your children, I think you should discuss it as soon as possible. It can put out future fires. Right along with the respect, I think what rolls in with respect was boundaries, right? And I think that that should be something that I expect even another person to have, right? I expect you to have some boundaries. That means you care about yourself, right? If you got some boundaries, that means that you cannot come in here and tear down everything that I work for. And I'm going to start talking about monetary things because people have to build themselves up spiritually and mentally. So you don't get to come in and disturb the peace, right? So that comes in with the boundaries and the respect. How you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you have to have that just the same way as we expect to have it in ourselves. You have to expect that people have it within them. Otherwise, it's kind of like, okay, well, what's going on here? It's like, how do you let people just treat you any kind of way? Like that's kind of got to be checked in a way. You know what I mean? Even I feel like if I care about somebody, I'm gonna let them know that they need boundaries. Hey, you don't let people treat you like that because people will walk over you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You'll have people treat you any kind of way, and you won't. It'll just be, you know, the wool is over your eyes, you know, kind of situation. And I mean, I make it a point to do that just because I care about you. You know what I mean? That's just so. If you have those people around you, you got to let them know. You got to let them know.
So you're saying that boundaries is really letting you know I care about you. I have respect for you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I would totally agree with that. Now, the next one on the list was number 4, and they talked about time with your partner. And they said time with your partner is an expectation. And I'm going to just say, when I say relationships, I'm going to say all relationships, because I know your children are expecting you to spend time with them. Your significant other expecting you to spend time with them. If you have a business relationship, they're expecting you to spend time on the project, right? So time spent with a partner, I believe, is very, very important, and not just any type of time, quality time. Quality time, so that I just wanted to let people know it looks different, right? You can, if you're in a relationship, you can be in the same room, and she can be reading a book and you can be reading a book. To me, that's quality time. We're still sharing time there. Or you can be reading the same book and you're discussing what you're reading. It could be a quality movie, right? It can be time in the kitchen, right? To me, it can be time tidying up the house together. Time spent is time spent. It doesn't always have to be a concert, a dinner, out for drinks, right? Because now when you spend a quality time with a person, that's usually you're building something, right? Not just building up a bill to be paid, but you're building something for your future. And if you're spending time with a partner, you're investing in them, right? So for me, that is quality time. Now, how do you feel about this? Because now I just listen to your schedule, and my schedule is pretty active too. So, being a single guy, you have to have somebody in your life that's really understanding about that, the time with the partner. How do you handle that yourself?
It's a difficult road sometimes. It's difficult, but you have to find people that, like you say, understand that. Because me, like I said, I've always been busy, always been on the go. I remember I was dating this one girl, and it got to the point where I would call her and she would answer the phone. Well, if it isn't Mr. Busy, and I used to get so mad. I'm like, of course, why does that have to be my nickname? Yes, I know my schedule is insane. My calendar is full a lot, but I give you all of my free time. If I got free time, I give it to you. Please stop calling me Mr. Busy. So it can be tough, but I've also learned, especially through that situation, how to make time.
Yes.
You make time for the things you care about. Because I used to get irritated when people told us, like, well, if you really care about somebody, you'd make time. And I'm like, where? I can't just walk into a shop and be like, all right, I'm about to order 5 hours of time, and then I'll just go home and I'll make me another 2 hours of time. That's not how it works. You can't just buy a bucket of time from Walmart, with some rollback prices. It just doesn't work like that. But I did have to learn, okay, yes, I am probably for the most part am going to be a busy person because I have so much going on and I want to accomplish a lot of things. But at the same time, I do have to make time for the people that I love, the people that I actually care about, because life is, to me, is more about them than accomplishing things.
Yes, I would agree. It's funny. I would get reminded. I haven't seen you since February the 3rd at 3:00. But I'm in a building stage, and you know how when we're in a building stage, it's.
Good luck, ladies.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. It's just we focused.
Yeah, that part right there. And then
we're focused.
Yeah, and self-care. You talk about meditation, right? So, and this right here, the time with a partner, now you have to listen to, ladies, listen to the man. If he's in a building stage, right, and you think that is something there, you have to be really understanding, right? Now, maybe that's time for you to tap into your purpose and your gifts.
It definitely is.
Right? So you won't have so much time on your hand. Because many people will walk away from someone when they're focused and they're on their road of purpose. They'll walk away. Say, he or she just don't have time for me. Right?
You mix it in. You gotta you mix it in because there was a situation where I was interested in a young lady and I was a workaholic at the time. I'm not gonna lie, I was a workaholic. I learned how to make time, but I was still going for what I wanted.
Absolutely.
And I could see she was similar in a way, and she was like, "Oh well, like I'm still trying to figure stuff out." I don't, it's hard to tell somebody to wait for you or whatever. And I could tell, like, okay, you trying to do what you do and build, your empire. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be a part in doing that. Let me help you. You can help me. You know what I mean? It's not that I want to take away your time. I'm not here to take your time.
No.
I'm here to give to you as you're here to give to me. Like it doesn't have to. I think people place the expectations that the outside world has on the relationship between you and another person.
Yes.
And you have to set those expectations for yourselves. It's not about what other people want and need. It's about what you two want and need. If you two decide, okay, you know what? I really do care about this person, but I don't want to lose them on account of me trying to work so hard on my goals and whatnot. But if you're both working together, then there's nothing to worry about. Y'all both got the same goal in mind, which is to actually build something.
Yes. So please listen to this because this is realistic here. And I know ladies, first thing they say they always want out of a man that he's financially stable, right? And this is what it looks like, ladies. When a man is purpose driven, he is very focused, right? Now, it doesn't exclude that he doesn't see the value in him, right? But the passion that God put in him is burning stronger, right? And being part of his life, you will most definitely benefit from it because you end up with a more peaceful man, right? And if you allow a person to walk in a purpose, I don't care if that man, and this is a man's edition, I don't care if that man finds 2 hours for you. It will be the most fulfilling 2 hours you ever had.
I'm saying.
Because we've been waiting on it too.
Waiting. I'm giving you all of my free time.
All 2 hours.
Like all 2 hours. And I still got to get up in the morning. So if you stick around with me through all of that, I got you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what this leads into? Number 5, consideration. Look at that.
Won't he do it?
And I just flip right to consideration. I know we're getting at the tail end of this, but I love the energy in the room and consideration right there. And that is a big part of what you should expect and expectations out of any type of relationship. I'm going to go back. Business, personal, parenting, right? You got to have consideration, right? Now, people always say, well, I want someone that we're compatible. I don't believe in that, because someone's always going to be, you may be compatible in May, but in August, you're not so much.
People change.
People change. You like different things. Different opportunities come your way. So your time is not compatible anymore, right? We just talked about that, right? So consideration is so very important. You have to look outside of you sometimes. When we're just talking about relationships, right? Look outside of you. And then really when they say step into a person's shoes, just say, well, you know what? Because this is a man edition, I'm going to say it again. He's taking care of this, that, and this. I only want to take care of the first thing, and he's doing 2 or 3 more things. Now, I have to be considerate of, he still has to have personal time. This man right here wants to meditate. He has family. And, okay, so I got to be considerate of the time he has for me. Now, in time with anything, it can be the time you have to be taking consideration. It's that cake in the oven. And you keep asking, Mom, is it done? It's not done yet, right? It's not done right. Yeah, just go sit down, be considerate, right? Don't keep bugging Mom, because you're going to enjoy that cake once the icing's on. She cut it, plated it with some ice cream. Right? Just
Taste buzz is going, but yeah.
But you see where I'm going.
Yeah.
So later on in
Patience.
life, you may get that ring, that home, and that's from you being considerate, spending some time with the partner, respectful, some compassion, and then we'll go to appreciation. And it always ends up to what we would call a happy ending. But we just live in a society where everything happens so quickly that I don't think people have time to appreciate things or to have expectations, because they get up on the go. So they're not really expecting anything out of the day. They're really not. And I don't think most people really sit back and say, wow, what did I expect out today? How'd your day go? Oh, it was okay. It was just that's it.
That's all you got.
That's all you got. What were you expecting out of the day, right? That it was, I just went to work and that, it was cool. So what we vibrating here?
That's just, do you love what you do? Are you excited about what you do when you wake up in the morning? Do you have goals? Do you have plans? Do you have aspirations? Do you have you know what, this is what I'm going to accomplish today? Or like you say, this is what I'm going to get out of today.
Absolutely.
What are you getting out of it?
We're talking about the expectation.
Your whole 24 hours or whatever it is, hours you got, after you wake up at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, whoo, I'm ready for fill in the blank.
There you go, right there. And everybody's going to put something different on that line. But I challenge you for the rest of this week to have expectations out of you, out of your family, out of your children, but not unrealistic expectations, because people and things have to grow into, right? And don't be disappointed if they don't feel up to what you expected in that time period. Give it some time, please, people. Slow down. Give things some time. Give yourself some time. You talked about meditation, and that was one of the things on my list to do, right? So I challenge everyone to, actually, it's as easy as you can go on YouTube and pull some up in the morning and quiet yourself, right? And listen, right? What I'm expecting for everyone that's listening, especially the men, I want all the men to have superb balance. I want all the men to have superb balance. I'm going to say it one more time. I want all the men to have superb balance in this day, moving forward. ladies, I want you to also. But one of the things I talk about on this show is, we just uplifting man one show at a time. We need it. We need it. I see it. I hear the conversations. Guys don't often express these things because they're too busy producing. They feel like they don't have time to express themselves. It's being misunderstood. It's being misunderstood. So at this time, I would tell everybody, you wake up even in the morning tonight, but in the morning, expect something beautiful out of your day. Let's just not, right? If nothing else, pray for a peaceful and productive day and expect that. And then move forward from there. I thank everyone for listening today. Thank you for being a part of the show today.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this. This was nice. Good conversation.
And the thing about it is, be transparent moment. I've been seeing this brother for a while, but this is our first time really having some interaction. So I learned a lot about you, and you have some amazing energy. So I'm glad we had this time together. Really, right. I look forward to talking to you a lot more. So I want everybody to tune in next week. I think Q should be, and I don't know, Q kind of celebrate for the whole month. So I don't know where she going to be this month for the rest of the month. But I appreciate the time spent here. Thank you, Q. Thank you for your input on the show today. Expectations. Expect something amazing and great out of yourself before others. So I thank you. Join us next week once again at 6 o'clock. Like Q said, we love you and there's nothing you can do about it but receive it. So everybody have an amazing week and an amazing weekend. You have anything you like to drop?
Oh, no, we out. You covered it. Have an amazing week, amazing weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.